Hello everybody and welcome to the Pies Nation podcast, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold. Nicholas Sacco here, your host once again. This is episode 20 of season 7, or episode 193 if you're counting from the beginning. It was far from perfect on Sunday afternoon, but a 6-goal win is a 6-goal win, and that's exactly what we did against Richmond at the MCG to stay on top of the ladder and set up what could be a season-defining 3 weeks for the Pies. We look into the goods and the concerns to come from the victory over the Tigers and go through all our favourite segments, including SpeakPie, a big VFL report from the weekend, and, of course, our guest crowd competition. And we thought after a scintillating contest yesterday, we'd get the full crew in the Backchat studio. So Marcus Callahan, Jack Dugan and Luke Humphries. It's been a while. Great to see all of your lovely faces after what some are saying is the win that we just had to have.
The win that we just had to have in very scrappy conditions, gentlemen. I was pretty frustrated at halftime, I'm not going to lie. Did turn it around in the second, and just another one we had to get the 4 points for to try and secure that top 2 spot, Jacko.
Yeah, well, we're back on the winners list. I'm a little bit more pessimistic this week, Nico. It's sort of just not reading in too much with how we played, just the fact that we got the 4 points and we can look to a really huge month of footy now coming up against the Lions and the Crows and the like. So now, between now and September is going to be the big test.
Yeah, I gave a few thoughts on the instant reaction afterwards, but more so just frustrated that you've watched every other team get a big win and just wanted us to do similar. It was still third quarter. You're seeing a glimpse of the Pies at their best, but just in the hope that we're managing things in the back end and not stressing too much about these games, just getting the 4 points and moving on to a big month. Well, 2 months to come, hopefully. So
yeah, exactly right. No, it's the Collingwood way. We can't expect to win these games by big margins. We just have to grind out a victory.
I literally sat there yesterday, I'm like, can we just put one of these teams away just so we can win by, big margin? It's it's annoying, but we are blessed that we are winning games of football.
We sure are. All right, let's get to the pie that caught our eye. Plenty to choose from, I'm sure, from the week. We'll start with you, Marcus. Who did we go for?
I've gone the Q.
Nice.
Thought he was back to some of his best footy yesterday. Very, very good overhead at ground level, covering really nicely, and just thought he brought that element of polish that we've sometimes lacked when we're trying to regain control, and was there throughout the game. I've really liked the way he's just flown under the radar but been very consistent throughout better patches of this season, and he's a guy that I think we don't know exactly what our personnel will look like in the last 4 or 5 weeks of the home and away season, but just playing really good consistent footy and reliable against a small quick forward from an opposition, but can then also come across third man up. And I thought some of his intercept marking yesterday was on show in the wet as well. So massive game from Q, and looking forward to another good 4 or 5 weeks from him.
Yeah, for sure, Nico. In the words of my mate Liam, he does not lose one-on-ones, our man. I was at Quainer and he was exceptional again yesterday, building a very exceptional season. The pie that caught my eye this week, maybe not so much for this performance, for the body of work this year. I just think he deserves a shout-out. Harry Perryman finished with the 19 touches, 12 kicks yesterday. Pull up his efficiency here, 84% in the wet, which is very, very solid indeed. But whenever he goes near the ball, he just does his job. And I think out of the big 3 recruits, which include Harry Perryman, Tim Embry and Dan Houston, I dare say there's a case that you could make that Perryman is number 1 seed in that list. I mean, it's a big call, also considering the year that Tim Embry's had, but I just think for a bloke who just comes into this side, every time he goes near it, your stress is just absolutely to a minimal, and he just does his job. So thought he deserved a shout out.
And just the 1 free kick against, was it?
Yeah, well...
I said that has never been paid in the history of the game, and... Everyone was livid.
I think the umps look at that and go, as soon as the eyes come off the footy,
that's what it was.
They're looking for it straight away.
It was a millisecond of a head turn.
And that's all they need.
Yeah, but you're so right, Jacko. He's just an out-and-out footballer.
Yeah,
Harry Perryman gets the job done, always in the right position, and I agree, he's just having a very, very solid season.
He's the type of player you need in a premiership side to
100%.
So, yeah. Pie that caught my eye, yous have made it easy. I'm going to go with Nick Dacos. I was stressing, who am I going to pick? Well, I'll take the easy option. Nick Dacos, 42 disposals, 3 goals. Nearly had a 4th as well. I was getting a bit hungry for that 4th one, I think. But highest rated game of the season. Champion data, I think it was 37.2, however they do their rankings. So exceptional performance. I know it's only Richmond, but he's had some weeks where we've criticised a few parts of his game and being a bit too hungry when he's got away from the tag and trying to do a bit too much and be too cute with things. I thought he got back to his absolute best yesterday, and we were quite messy with ball in hand at times, but whenever Nick got it, you just knew things were okay. So, and made some really good decisions with the football.
Well, exactly. You say it was only against Richmond, but he was arguably at moments in the match the difference between the two sides. Talk about polish and the lack of it from many of our players yesterday. The fact that he was just able to stand tall. And I think we have been critical about him being a bit too ball hungry in recent weeks. But I felt like yesterday when he was calling for the footy, 9 times out of 10, he actually was in a great position. And even if he wasn't, still managed to just squirt a little kick out to somebody and get the ball rolling when nobody else could have that vision. I mean, it was just exceptional. I said in the group chat, it was 3 votes at quarter time, really. He truly was the difference between not us winning and losing, but certainly in terms of the quality of the two sides out there, he really did stand tall.
In certain stages of the game, particularly first half, where he actually was the difference between us being in front or behind. But comparing to what I spoke on a few weeks ago, where it was just like he's calling for it when he shouldn't be, or making the wrong decisions at times, I never felt that once yesterday, and he had 42 touches, so every one of them felt like impactful and was the difference maker in it.
910 metres gained as well, which is phenomenal. So there'll be 3 votes, Marcus, on the Nick Dacos Brownlow tracker.
Takes him to 27 for the season, Nico.
He's 8 ahead on the coaches.
Yes, he got another 10 today.
Yeah, I think,
which is normally a very good indicator of
Anderson's very close behind. Only a game or so behind. But gents, it just dawned on me that if tagging was illegal in our great game of AFL, how far ahead would Nick be? Because I feel like there's been Nick Dacos with a tag and Nick Dacos without a tag this season, and on some occasions he's probably going to poll Brownlow votes even with a tag, but gee whiz, he was devastating. And first goal on the left peg yesterday or so, I believe, and not a bad one to put through the sticks. The crowd was up and about.
Another iconic photo.
Yeah, that too. You couldn't even pick his best out of the 3, I reckon.
Well, his little step, and he almost got taken down, but he managed to get around, and then just the finish. And that is the thing, it's the finish, which he hasn't quite had this year, but, to finish with his 3 goals yesterday. I think he had a shank as well, which has been sort of what he has done at times this year. But when he does finish, he's getting so many opportunities to kick goals.
Just on that note, I reckon, or at least I've mentioned a few times throughout the course of the season that he might be carrying something, and we've sort of thought maybe a hip, maybe an ankle earlier in the season. Does he look as fit as he looked all season at the moment? Because I see him covering the ground better, but I'm interested in your thoughts as well, gents.
Yeah, no, I think we've, it's probably been a combination of the actual tag that's on him and probably little niggles throughout games, but now that he's got that freedom back a little against some of these sides, he's just, running them off the ground at the moment.
It's funny you mentioned today as well about how we feel like we've corrected that Nick Dacos hungry, calling the ball for in bad positions area, but there was one instance yesterday where he should have got it back off his brother and he didn't, and Josh got absolutely mown down. I was like, there was one time where you should have given it back. That was then, but we can have one blemish in an otherwise perfect game.
There was actually a couple others where I thought they should have given it back to him and they kind of held it or looked to another option. So I feel like potentially they've spoken about that within the 4 walls as well, and maybe they've at times gone, we don't want to just give it back to him, but then there are times where it is the best option and you should do it. But God, Josh, when that happened, I lost it because, was it Rioli that run him down? How many times do we want to let Rioli side bottom?
Steal.
They just stand there like, I'm like, I was
bit of awareness, gentlemen.
Yeah, he comes from nowhere though. I reckon he starts 150 metres away every time and still somehow, if he doesn't catch him, he almost just gets there.
So when Tom Mitchell got mowed down, I was like, Tom Mitchell, too slow.
Who was the one that was in defensive 50 that just stood still and waited for someone? It was Titch, wasn't it?
The first quarter.
Yeah.
He did have a good game after that, Titch, I thought.
Wow, lovely segue to the part that caught my eye.
At the time, I was like, he's too slow.
Lovely segue. I'm glad you mentioned him. I've gone Titch, and I'm calling it a mixed game because I did feel like he had one of his better performances in a Collingwood jumper since coming back from the injury concerns that he's had this year. I mean, you look at it on paper, 29 touches, 7 marks, 6 tackles, 7 inside 50s, all terrific. But you just felt what was really lacking. When we talk about the polish and the composure of Nick Dacos, Tom Mitchell was on the other end of the spectrum, unfortunately. Just really frustrating with some of his decision-making and some of those long bombing kicks that were just going straight to Richmond defenders. He wasn't alone. I thought him and Ned played very similar games in that aspect where a lot of their disposal efficiency was marred by the fact that they were just slamming it straight down Richmond defenders' throats. Great to see that. It was the type of conditions that Tom Mitchell enjoys. It's wet, it's contested. He gets in and under, and it's fantastic that he got plenty of the footy. I would have just liked a little bit more calmness, especially from such an experienced head like Tidge, and especially for someone that hasn't got a place in this 23 sewn up just yet with some players to come back in. It would have been nice just to him to cool things down with no Scotty Pendlebury out on the ground, just to be that leader out there to calm things. We left it to Nick quite often, and it worked out this time, but just hoping for his sake that he can have a bit more influence with ball in hand. I know we're not relying on him to be the one that hits targets inside 50, but just a bit more efficiency with the ball would be nice.
That was the point I was going to make, Nico. I think we all know with Tom Mitchell, we don't expect him to be hitting that laser kick from 40 metres away. But do you think with Scott Pendlebury coming out of the side late on the day impacts this whatsoever? And I actually think there's a world in which, we'll get to it later with the VFL wrap-up, but once Jordan De Goey finds himself back into this side, I think that makes Tom Mitchell's role a lot more clearer and a lot more refined, and he's not required to hit the kicks. He's not required to be classy by foot. He's just required to get in and under and get the ball out or get it long, which I think between him and Ned Long, they'll be far better off when players like Scott Pendlebury, Jordan De Goey are coming back through this side.
It's a mixed is a good word to use, Nick. I feel like Titch did some things which encouraged me, but then he overran the footy at times. He just put it on the boot and, went straight down Nathan Broad or Nick Floston's throat a few times. He wasn't alone once again. But to me, his game against Carlton we're pretty impressed with, and then his game against Richmond, which are both lesser oppositions, let's be frank. In a match where it's wet and it's in and under, I would hope that Tom Mitchell and Ned Long to an extent are having a bit more impact, but in terms of having well-defined roles in our midfield, and there's still conjecture as to whether we've got enough evidence of doing it against top 8 sides playing Tommy Mitchell and Ned Long together, I'm still not convinced. I'm still not quite there that they both had enough ownership of their role in the middle, and that having midfielders and getting that dynamic right is crucial come finals time, so that you've got your X-factor player in someone like a De Goey, you've got your Rolls-Royce in someone like a Scotty Pendlebury, and then you've got your absolute jet like a Nick Dacos, and then someone who can farm it to them like a Titch or a Ned. So assuming we will have a full-strength side, I'm still wanting a couple more games before we really conclude what might happen.
So we're going to get another week of it likely this week coming up against Brisbane. Obviously, Pendles will be back in the side. Sullivan will make way, unfortunately, with that PCL injury that he sustained, which is an absolute shame because he'd been playing some great footy leading up to that point. Are you defining it by a particular amount of weeks here, Marcus, about how many more games? Because we're not expecting Geordie to come straight in this week, you would think, from his VFL performance. So are we looking at a fortnight against some pretty tough opposition before you make a call?
Well, the point I'm trying to make is Mitchell was rested against Freo, so he came out of the side, and then I think we're 2 wins and 1 loss when we've played Titch and Ned together, but it's whether we've been playing a lot of top 8 sides or bottom 8 sides that I really want to draw that insight from, and we're going to get a lot of evidence in the next few weeks about what that could look like. So I think against the Lions and the Hawks, we should have a pretty good read if we go with both of them, Nico. The Sullivan injury is a really interesting one in terms of what that then potentially creates for guys coming through the VFL, particularly Geordie De Goey, Bobby Hill. But I think we're a matter of weeks away before, as we talked about last week, really needing to set that team that we're committed to going ahead with in finals and not getting too cute at selection.
You'd arguably think this is the last week we're managing anybody. You heading into this patch?
I'd honestly stop the managing. Do you mean the game just gone?
As in, the game just gone.
Like now it
that's
begins.
Enough. Yeah.
Like we're playing arguably the second best in it in Brisbane, or third best depending if you got Adelaide above them. But our season starts now. Like that's how I'd be framing it within the 4 walls.
Sure.
We begin now the preparation to finals, but these next 4 weeks are absolute warm up for finals. It's Brisbane, it's Hawthorn, it's Adelaide, and then Melbourne. But
don't worry. It's just 2 weeks of
Be 60
pre-finals
points
bye.
down it with 10 minutes to go. We still might have that one.
You know, teams playing their last game of the year always come out and play it like it's the grand final. So you can't, think Melbourne's going to just lie down and let us have that one. So definitely the next three are an absolute warm-up for finals, and we need to work out what our best side looks like and how we're going to play when it gets to September.
So moving away from individuals just for a moment, I'm sure you heard Darcy Moore post-game yesterday talking about training loads. He said, we're training really hard at the moment. Our training loads are quite high. So a lot of parallels drawn between what's happening now and what happened in 2023, hence a bit of the explanation as to why there was such a lull at the back end of the 23 home and away campaign before we moved into finals. Now, mind you, different squad, arguably a tougher run home for us this time compared to what we had to deal with in 2023. What do you make of the skipper coming out like that? Because the general consensus from a lot of Pies fans yesterday was that we did look very slow in the midfield, and that's why there was a lot of attention drawn towards Tom Mitchell and Ned Long. We just spoke about 3 or 4 players that got mown down in tackles, which is not something we would usually see. Are you comfortable with the way that we're preparing for this final series, considering what Darcy Moore's just come out and said?
Well, my understanding is that we've got a 6-day and then a 5-day break, so there was some narrative perhaps being spoken to about a tune-up and getting on top of those loads before going into a really heavy block and making sure guys are ready to go. It's a hard one. You never know if that's just a bit of a PR stunt or if we are actually looking a bit below where we would like to be. I'm still really interested, Nico. We were talking about Ned Long and Tommy Mitchell, but bringing Howie and Pendles back in terms of the on-field leadership that creates. We haven't also seen those guys play consistently alongside Titch and Ned. So there's just a lot of puzzle pieces that have been missing throughout the season, and Vi often says we still don't know the best version of ourselves, we're still evolving, and I think there's actually some truth to that coming into the last month of footy, Jacko. So do you see any missing pieces that really need to be locked in right now?
Well, on the high performance piece, first and foremost, Nico, if that is true and we're similar to 2023, surely we could have learnt from that and no, but I think there's another bit of that where we had top spots sewn up, I think, with about 4 weeks to go. It was no doubt that we weren't going to finish top. I think we just needed to win one more game with about a month of footy to go. That's not the case now this year, especially.
We're struggling to win that one game.
That's not the case this year, especially with the amount of opposition around us fighting for the top spots at the moment, Adelaide, Brisbane, and the like. So, yeah, I think we're going to find a lot about ourselves in the next month of footy. And Marcus is spot on. There just feels like there's so much moving pieces, so much pieces of the puzzles to get right. But that, as a supporter, that excites me because in 2023 it was like, righto, we've reached how far we can go in terms of form. We know that we're a very good side. We just need to win one game and then you go into a final series and reset. This time it feels like, okay, we're 4 points clear at the top of the ladder. We're clearly a very good side, but we can be a lot better. And I think that's really exciting going into at least this next month of footy, because we could sit here in a month's time and be 0-4 and think, oh my God, what the hell's happened to this year? What a disaster. But I also think there's a lot of excitement to happen between now and then.
I think with 23 we got so excited and we looked so good so early, and then the drop off came and it scared us big time. The drop off was bigger in that season, whereas this year we haven't reached as high a peak, so we haven't dropped as far. I don't think we've kind of muddled around there. For honestly, off the top of my head, it feels like since King's birthday game, we've just muddled around with our form, managing, just not really putting the sword away to teams. And honestly, we've probably perfected things in terms of managing everything if we just won that Freo game. We probably didn't deserve the Gold Coast one. Outside of that, we have won every single game that we should have won. True.
Cats.
And we've,
line ball.
got a bit unlucky there. And what was the other game we've lost? The
Giants.
Forget about that one.
Doesn't count.
What's the
Just those 4.
Yeah, Freo.
We lost 3 games by under.
So honestly, if we should have won that Freo game. Looking back, we win that. We are so. We've primed ourselves as perfectly as we could with the run home that we have to come. So I think, that negative perception of this drop-off that we've had really just stems from probably dropping that Freo game because the response yesterday was just to win, and we did that. We did enough.
And not to give another straight bat answer, I'm sorry, but in a month's time, this is either going to look amazing. Managing. It's going to look like the best thing that's ever happened in football. We'll be spoken about alongside Geelong in 22 about how good we've been about managing our ageing list, etc., etc. Or we're going to look like we've got egg all over our face. It's going to go one or the two ways. I don't envision it sort of still sitting here in a month's time going, I'm still not sure about when we should be managing players. I'm still not sure what our right mix looks like. We'll know come that Melbourne game whether or not we are still a genuine contender in this thing or not.
And I think the difference between 23, it wasn't so much the ageing list and, the veterans in the side. It was more about the flick of the switch needed to happen, and it was like, is that going to be able to be done off the back of what seemed like some pretty poor form heading into September, whereas this year it is definitely a management thing we can put it down to, and we all knew that at the start of the year, and we put ourselves in such a good position, a better position than anyone would have envisioned, that we probably didn't realise we could do it as well as we could have at this point in the year. And players that have been managed or rested at times, we probably didn't quite plan that at the start of the year, but have been able to do that as the year has evolved.
I do feel like the conversation changes considering what happened in 23. There's just so much more of a backing of this coaching staff and the system, and knowing, hey, we've done this before and we've gone on to win the ultimate. So there's no reason why we can't go on and do this again. So I do feel comfortable with how things have been so far. But I think the next few weeks are going to be a big test. Anything else from this Richmond game?
I thought our forward line, to be fair, looked more dynamic than what it did against the Dockers.
They moved, like we said on Thursday, Jack.
Like we moved a bit, which memory is a key cog to that.
Leading at the football.
And I also feel like Jamie 8 had a little bit of a dog of a day. Got a snag in the end, but
Broad was very honest.
Battled throughout, you got to say. And I reckon someone like a Jamie 8 is crying out. I understand we just had Bo McCreary come in and out of this side, but I reckon he's crying out for a sidekick, if you like, a Bobby Hill, someone else to take the attention away from him. Because if you go back to the first half of this year when Jamie 8 was kicking it in Coleman medal conversations and killing it, you'd probably find that a lot of the times that Bobby Hill was also drawing a lot of attention in those games. So I reckon he'll be so glad once he gets his sidekick back.
Well, I know we'll get on the VFL a bit later, but I know they got put away pretty easily. But those Bobby moments, you throw them into the AFL game and it puts us 50, 60 points ahead. And then all the attention goes on Bobby. We got to stop. We got to shut Bobby down. So I think we have missed him a lot while he has been out of the side. And despite him not having mass amount of touches, it's what he does with them and how dangerous he can become inside our forward 50, which allows other forwards like Billy Elliott to do their thing.
Yeah, 100%. Need those barometers, and Bo and Bobby are two absolute key barometers for us. Nico, I guess, again, we win by 6 goals, and there's probably a lot of cracks that we're not going to cover in this podcast had it been a closer margin or had a couple other things not gone our way against the Tigs. But I felt, and we've said this a lot throughout the year, and maybe it's the ageing list thing, maybe it's having some slower midfielders, but just the way the ball at times moves too quickly from our opposed defence to their offence. Now, it didn't hurt us yesterday because Richmond's entries inside 50 were poor, and so were their disposals, particularly Noah Bolter, Jacko, as we were saying off air before. But I just get a little bit concerned when we have such a good zone defence, and we know how well we've played for large parts of this season. But just when teams like the Gold Coast get a quick run on us, sometimes I just get a little bit concerned about how we're moving when the ball's moving quickly in defensive transition. So just a massive watch for me over the next few weeks against some high-quality opposition. So I guarantee you we'll be looking at that Gold Coast game and going, that is the one that we want to get right to try and beat Collingwood.
We had them on the line at full back, so they didn't end up rushing it through. They kept it alive. And they went right around the boundary, all the way inside 50. And I can't remember if they got a goal from it, but they had a shot on goal. And we didn't touch or make a fist or anything. They went handball, kick, all the way down the boundary. And then they did get a mark, because I thought, God, we have just let them go the length of the field whilst having them as deep a pressure you could have, right on the goal line, and they've gone the length of the field and are having a shot on goal without us touching the footy. And I'm thinking, it's Richmond. How have we let that happen?
So what is that though? Is that lack of forward pressure, getting it out too easily? Is that lack of zone defence, lack of team defence down the line? Because it's just it's happening over and over again. It's our biggest red flag, I reckon.
Is it just Jeremy Howe?
We're not going that way.
Is that the simple
I think it's
answer?
further up the ground. It's got to, there's not enough busyness.
It's between the arcs. I think inside the arcs, the things are pretty safe and the pressure's there. And maybe it was a little off yesterday just because of the game.
Pendle's missing as well is huge because he's literally pointing at blokes and telling them where to go inside that centre square.
I said that on the reaction yesterday, and I've said it a couple of times on the pod, but when he's not out there, you miss him and go, Pendle's out there would just make a massive difference. And it's like, we're going to have to get used to that. What was the game recently? The Gold Coast game. He comes on and everything changed. And you felt so much better about this side. And yesterday, again, at times in the first half particularly, it was like we just needed a Pendles out there. And I know we've got Nick and Sidey and those, but Pendles is just...
But even Howie and not Pendles changes things to your point, I believe. Yeah. But yeah, just a few too many young guys who aren't at that level where they can be managing traffic. And I know it's Richmond. I know it sounds like I'm nitpicking because we won by 6 goals, but it needs to be a watch.
Yeah, when he finishes, Scott Fender, he might be the most expensive runner in the history of the AFL because I don't want to let him go. You give him the pink Guernsey and he can still run the show from there.
You can just coach instead. That's fine. Once Fly's ready to hang it up, we'll move on. All right, let's get your votes in from the Tigers game, please, boys. What are your 3, 2, 1s?
I've actually gone 1 vote to Timmy Membry. I thought he provided us some nice structure up forward. Great to see him back. 2 votes have gone to Q and 3 votes to St. Nicholas.
I'm going to go 1 to Q for reasons Marcus mentioned in the pilot court. His eye, just again, he doesn't get beaten 1-on-1. He's just building confidence game in, game out this year. So happy. Feels like he's back. He's back on the 2023 Isaac Quainer that we know and love. I've given 2 to Josh Dacos. Thought he was really busy yesterday. Again, another one of these players that's in a bit of a purple patch at the moment. Another interesting watch. Again, what do we do with him coming into September? And 3 to St. Nicholas. Lukey.
Yeah, I've got 1 vote for Josh. I thought he had a really good game yesterday as well, 30 disposals and outshone from his brother, but still incredibly important. 2 votes, Perryman, agreed with everything you said in the pie that caught your eye and just how important he is to this side. 3 votes, not sure. Nick Dacos, 3 votes.
Geez, Quainer stiff not to make your top 3.
I was actually looking at it, I'm like, it's a bit of a tough one.
We like these games where there's
definitely Nick, and then you could have put a hat around or thrown a hat on 5 or 6 others to get a 2 or 1.
DC was solid as well. Again, I thought he was stiff to miss out on mine.
Yeah, and it wasn't too bad. I ended up going Josh 1, Isaac 2 and Nick 3. I thought it was pretty simple. That must be the name. Just must be the nickname. I don't know. I can't help you there.
To get that.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right. Brownlow night, he won't get 3 votes for this somehow, though. It'll be
no way.
If he doesn't get 3 for this,
it'd be a riot.
Yeah,
be a riot. All right, let's get to SpeakPie to a few less than it was against the Freo game last week. But thank you for everyone that does send them through. We really do appreciate the ones that do go by. We got a lot of reaction to the ones that came through last week. So very emotional, heated Pies fans last week. A bit more mellow, I can tell you, this time around. So thank you, everybody. But it's great to get that support from all our fans, especially knowing that we can actually hear their voices out there, Luke.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did love the old Ask Pies Nation segment, and it may come back at some point, Nico, but...
in absolute disarray.
Even better just to hear the voices and, the reaction of probably some people hearing their voice on a podcast. I know we hear our voices every single week, but even when I wasn't on that episode...
you still had to get your way in.
Big lift.
The joy I got from hearing it, I was they picked me, so we love it.
Which did make me think when we get to the VFL in a moment.
Yes,
the surge, SpeakPie.
I reckon we could go with a bit of audio as well. Oh. I don't mind that.
What is a minute and a half? So give us a minute and a half review, Serge, on the...
We can have a chat to Serge about that. I don't think that's a bad idea. I like it. Very good. All right, so this is this week's. Before we do get underway, one of our favourites, Colin, who missed last week. He did let us know that he's on holiday, so we're going to leave him alone.
All's well.
He's just warming up for finals, so he'll be back in a month, and we'll hear from him then.
Do you remember where was he jetting off to?
I can't remember exactly.
But it was a month. Yeah.
Hopefully somewhere warm.
Yeah, I'm sure for his sake it is. Yes, but yes, he will be back. So don't worry for those that missed. All right, let's get this underway. We only got a few to go through, but I'm going to start with Grace, and I thought this was a really nice touch to kick things off. So thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Grace and I'm 11. I think everyone had a very outstanding game, even in the bad conditions, but the pie that really caught my eye was Q. He had a remarkable game and definitely is stepping up even with Jeremy Howe not being there. Go Pies.
So, yeah, getting all...
Beautiful.
I thought that was
well articulated. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. I'm looking forward to hearing more from her
Love
throughout the
the
year.
positivity and optimism from that.
And a pie that caught our eye as well. It was just fantastic.
Youngest SpeakPie there, Nick?
I reckon right up there would have to be. 11
Right
years
down there.
old. Well, thank you. Ahmed's next. Thank you, Ahmed.
G'day, boys. Just wanted to quickly highlight and show some love for Timmy Membry. I think he is one of our most efficient and hard-working forwards. He just pops up for his 2 goals a game, every game, and they come at such clutch moments when we're looking a little bit shaky. I just think his ability to lead is second to maybe only Jamie Elliott, because none of our other forwards seem to be doing that at the moment. So I just wanted to show some love for Timmy Membry. Yeah.
You said before, Jack, that you reckon Pez might be the best of our recruits. I reckon the Skunks give him a good run for his money.
Yeah, it's true. We had a chat about this on yesterday's game, and I think Tim Membry's goal-scoring prowess helps him in this conversation, but also noted Tim Membry works his backside off.
Absolutely.
And talk about leading. There's so many times where he's unrewarded or he's dragging his opponent up the ground to make space for a Jamie Elliott, for a Dan McStay. He just does all the hard in and under dirty things that go unrewarded in our game, and he deserves a massive shout out. And I love that celebration on the weekend as well. Quick little cast of the fishing line, reel him in. Loved it.
No rock the baby week after having a third child.
Actually, but Jordan DeGoey, just on that very note, congratulations to him and his partner. They're expecting the arrival of a child, so that's fantastic news.
He's played 100 games and happy.
Looking forward to that very much. Wilbur is up next, so thank you very much, Wilbur.
Hey boys, it's Wilbur. Look, a really unconvincing win today. We seem to handball so much in hope and get nothing out of it. Full connections definitely missing. Brisbane next week, huge game just in the context of our season, not just for top spot, just going into finals, just to take a big scalp moving in. I've got a big month coming up. Next week's going to be huge. I look forward to seeing DeGoey back and Bobby, and hopefully getting some continuity in that forward line, because, geez, we look disconnected. Win's a win. We'll always take it, but, need to step it up. Let's go.
Their ladder position still reflects that they're a very good side, Nico. But is there a little bit of sort of drawback on this week's game in terms of how big it is? Because they did just get absolutely taken to the cleaners by the Gold Coast. The Lions in the wet, in the monsoonal conditions up on the Gold Coast. So lucky it was.
We picked a good week to go, didn't we?
But in all seriousness, though, Brisbane probably a little bit coming to this game out of form
and haven't beaten us since the grand final.
Exactly right.
Let's keep it going.
Let's hope we go and we do a number on them this week. But I dare say the commentary will very much be like Pies aren't quite back yet if we beat the Lions as what it could have been this time 2 or 3 weeks ago.
You would expect a big response from Brisbane.
Yeah, absolutely.
Off the back of that, though, last week.
And a big response from one Norm Smith medalist that might be returning for this match, which we will talk about
Yes, absolutely.
in a bit.
Yes, Jake Keisha's sent a very short one, so nice and simple.
Nicholas Sacco, 3 votes. On to the next, boys.
Yeah. That was it. It was a pretty short.
Sums up the game pretty well, I reckon.
Yeah, like we said, he had it at quarter time. This is another Jake that sent one through, so thank you.
Yeah, good day, boys. To be honest, I was very frustrated watching the first half. I thought there was, that we lacked a fair bit of confidence. There was not a lot of cohesion going forward. But we settled well, and now that the dust settled, I feel that was a really solid win, a really solid workman-like win. We did what we had to do. At the end of the day, there's no easy games in this competition. I know people will probably look at that and say, well, we didn't bury Richmond, but they've won 2 in a row. They got a bit of momentum, and we were trying to get some momentum back. So I think it was just a really solid, needed win, and we'll get some confidence from that moving forward. But the main event was Nicholas Sacco. What a game! Ridiculous, that bloke. That's what's going to happen if teams don't give him enough attention moving forward. Richmond just let him do what he wanted today, and he tore them apart. He was unbelievable. And probably in a way the difference in the end, because He was clean in the wet. He just did everything today. So really happy with that win. Really happy with Nicholas Sacco getting 3 more votes, and go Pies.
The name Nicholas is just skyrocketing in everybody's. This is great. This is brilliant stuff. So I was ahead of the curve. I knew this was going to happen. So I'll shut up now. Blair is next. Thank you, Blair, for sending yours in.
Boys, it's Blair from Corio here. Just got home from the game on the train. I know we're prone to hyperbole as supporters, but clearly that was the single worst umpiring decision of all time, that tunnelling, blocking decision in that first half. It's just astounding. And it wasn't the only astounding call. Where is the umpiring going? I've got my concerns about Jamie Elliott at the moment and his kicking. He just looks a bit short of confidence kicking for goal. Nick just doing Nick things, and we have done enough to get over the line. We probably need to get our forward connection sorted out, and we might be a good thing. I think the back line's doing its best, somewhat undermanned, and the midfield's going okay. But Jesus, the umpires. Anyway, top of the ladder. Go Pies.
On the Jamie Elliott chat, Nico, I think yesterday, after the Freo game, it was clearly that our forward line needed to get moving. Having the Tim Memory inclusion was massive for that, but I reckon he was really busy in the first half, Jamie, for not a lot of reward. Got his goal in the third quarter, but as I said, had a bit of a dog of a day in the wet, and I reckon his shots on goal came late in the last quarter. I reckon there was a big element of he'd done a lot that day for not a lot of reward, perhaps feeling a bit lethargic. So I think we can give him a bit of a sort of a tick for that one.
I was just a bit surprised. He's having an incredible season.
Third in the Coleman. Whack.
I know. Yeah, his last couple haven't been as incredible, but yeah.
Is he more talking specifically about his set shots though?
I think he's I didn't think much of it yesterday, but I think his set shot goal kicking has been as good as it's ever been across probably the past couple months.
Across the course of the season, yes, but last week he missed, as did Checkers late in the game.
Yeah,
could have iced. Could have iced it against Freo, and then again maybe a couple of errant ones yesterday. But body of work across the whole season, pretty good. So I think that's a bit harsh.
Yes. Oh well, that's what we get all the.
And I was another one on the umpires yesterday. God, frustrating. Thought they got a lot of help, particularly early, Richmond.
Up 6 in the free kick count, come the final siren, the Tigers.
It just felt like they could fall over and they'd get a free kick.
Out of zone umpiring, can we talk about that for a second? For Christ's sake,
Durant,
you're 300 metres away. How the hell can you see between 18 players and 3 other umpires that are in a better position?
Are you talking about Nathan Williamson?
I reckon I am. He's got that
blonde
fancy haircut. Yeah. Nathan Williamson, go to bed with a mirror and wake up to yourself, son, because you are that far off it and you just want to get yourself on tally. I don't know what it is. Gee, that really gave me the ears yesterday.
Yeah, I was talking to myself and my dad's an umpire as well, so I was talking to him on the way in here about that specific one. So the other umpire is in a perfect spot to watch.
Which one, sorry?
Is this the side bottom holding the ball in the back line?
So I was holding the ball.
Yeah.
That umpire had, it's right there. He's in the perfect view of what's going on, and he's called play on. Nathan Williamson, who's behind the play, probably about 100 metres away or inside the arcs, has run in and paid holding the ball. And then they've all gone to the other umpire. You're right there. You have called play on. Now, I don't know how they're trained to do things these days, but back in, probably 5+ years ago.
Back in your day.
And, it was always a thing. You never, holding the ball, you never pay out of zone because the other umpire always has the best view of it, and it's up to interpretation of, their decision making. So if they call play on and you run in and pay holding the ball, you can go either way with it, and it looks incredibly bad to the players and the supporters watching.
Hold on,
the game.
but
it's not as clear cut as a high contact. He might have missed it, but the other ones had a better view and has actually seen it clip the head. Holding the ball, if you don't have the angle of it, you're just kind of guessing what's happened with players blocking.
Okay, but in that instance then, if the umpire in the zone if the player that disposes of the football is not in a great angle for the umpire that's in the zone, and it's a blatant throw, but the umpire that's in another zone can see clearly that it's a throw.
Sometimes they
are
do
you
pick
then
up
not
the
have? Are
rubbish.
you?
No, that's fine. Yeah,
but then that goes against your point.
Are you talking about like a dropping of the football or a throw?
No,
Well, both instances,
but
really.
it was always a rule: don't pay holding the ball out of zone because you don't have the angle that the umpire who is in zone should have the best angle of it. That. It's different with a throw, different with high contact, kind of clear cut things.
You're talking
but
about dispossession.
yeah, holding the ball is just so up for interpretation that bloke up in row Z compared to bloke in down the other end of the ground are seeing completely different things. So you leave it with the umpire in the zone who's going to have the 9 times out of 10 the best angle, and he did yesterday, and he called play on whilst the other umpire came in and paid holding the ball. So then it made them
in that instance
look silly because he has seen it and called play on
3 times. The same umpire called out of zone where it was like no one in the ground knew what was going on except for him. Apparently, he needs to have a bib like in the AFL 9s or Auskick where he's only allowed to stay in his area and only call in his area, please.
Jeez, we've done well to insert 5 minutes on umpires in one of the most boring 6-goal wins.
I didn't get a chance to look back on it, but it was a holding the ball right on quarter time, which I thought literally Crisp had it for a half a millisecond. And it got dragged in underneath him, and then bang, holding the ball. Then siren went, I lost it.
When they kicked one?
Yeah, right on quarter time.
Oh, that's right, yes. So Ricky's come in with one. Thank you, Ricky, for sending yours in.
No, I wanted to get in that.
Hey, boys. Oh, look, beggars can't be choosers, but geez, give me a 150-point win just once. Look, I'll take the 4 points. It wasn't pretty. I won't watch it back, but I'll take it. Mate, next week I think we launch next week. We got to bring these guys back. If today was a final, we would have played Pendlebury, Bobby, Howie, Clampton. We got to play them next week. It's 4 weeks left of the season. It's time to go. No more faffing about with the rotations. See you, boys.
Like it. Clampton, that's awesome. I've never heard that yet.
I've also heard franchise.
Yeah, I've seen that do the rounds.
Do not mind. And Sir William, of course.
All 3, yes, absolutely. All right, we're finishing with Irvin. We really enjoyed him the last few weeks.
Calm the farm.
Yes, he's been fantastic. Let's see what he's got for us to wrap up.
Okay, so first things first, I'd like to express my never-ending appreciation for Peter Dacos and his testicles, because on top of all the amazing things he did on the field, I think his best contribution to Collingwood was producing 2 of the best footballers I've ever seen put on a black and white jumper in Nick and Josh. Oh my God, Nick, what a freak. 43 or 42 touches and 3 goals. Really should have been 4 after another contested mark at the end there. Just shout out the entire Dacos family for their contributions to the Collingwood Football Club. As for the game itself, pretty ugly win. But sometimes you just got to roll your sleeves up and grind out a result, no matter how ugly it is. And at the end of the day, I think I'd take a disgusting win like that over a beautiful loss like the last couple of weeks. And now the real shit starts. We got 3 really big games coming up. Can't wait for Saturday night against the Lions. I'm going with my girlfriend, and every game I've gone to with my girlfriend, we've won. So you're welcome in advance. Anyway, the best way to announce to the world that 17 is coming is to remind everyone just how we got 16, and that's by beating the Lions at the MCG. Go Pies.
Love that.
Irvin.
Class.
He's been very good on the SpeakPie lately, Irvin. And that's a great way to finish.
Love that last line. That was good.
Might have to use
that.
But
the sentiment of the last couple is it's time to go.
Yeah.
Now is strong and resonates a lot. Let's get cracking this week.
Absolutely. All right, well, that was SpeakPie. Thank you for everyone that sent theirs in. Great to hear from them as always. Let's move right along. We're going to start with the guest margin. It was 36 points. 0. Okay, very good. Moving right along. We've got to guess the crowd. Did everyone just pick high then? Is that
for the margin? Yeah, there's a lot of sort of over 50s. There was a few under, but no one. Yeah, a couple 37, 35, but not 36.
All right, we've got Donnie today for guess the crowd. Any idea about how far?
About 100 off.
About 100 off. Okay.
So it was I think a lower crowd than what most expected.
Richmond home game in the wet.
Yeah,
you would have thought.
Glad all the Legends members moved up to level 4 so we could see all the empty stands in level 1. That would have been fantastic. Yes.
I thought, it was a touch higher than I thought. I said 55, so knew it was going to rain the whole game and thought a lot would be turned away from going to a bit of a nothing game really in the end. So
fantastic. All right.
We all went though, I think, yeah.
Yes. We're all there.
I was home.
Oh, Marcus was. Yeah.
Okay.
Pining.
Hello, Nick speaking.
It's Nicholas from Pies Nation here. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Very good. You our guest the crowd winner for this week. Congratulations. Now, we want to know straight off the bat, we want to know the method behind the madness. We'd love to know how you get to guessing your crowd figures each and every week.
Well, yesterday's was based on the weather forecast.
Yes.
Obviously, Richmond aren't going that well either. So it was a pure guess, but that's where I got my thinking from.
Yeah, no, don't mind that. I mean, yeah, Richmond, weather, it all makes sense, and you got pretty close. I have it 100 off, so very well done. Well, you're one of the ones that made it there, and I guess regardless, how did you see yesterday's clash?
Yeah, it was good. Back on track. Nice 6-goal win. Hopefully we can win the last 4 and stay on top. But yeah, yesterday's game was good. I think we're building nicely.
G'day, mate. It's Luke from the Pies Nation podcast. Great to have you on.
Hello.
And I know you said you guessed it. Well, that is why they call it Guess the Crowd.
Oh,
so it was
thank you. Yes.
very good guess by yourself. Now, we've been talking on our management of players across this season and management of the list and the way we're playing sort of as we head towards the back end of the season. Wanted to hear your thoughts on how you've seen things. Have you thought we've probably overmanaged at times, or do you think everything is going exactly to plan?
No, I think everything's going to plan. I think the only concern I have is with a month to go, guys like Geordie, obviously Bobby, and Bo, they're the 3 that I want in that side. But obviously Bo's probably going to be a few more weeks, maybe Geordie as well. So my concern is, will they have enough game time in them for the big game?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. That's for sure. One that we spoke at length at this podcast. That's for sure. Thanks so much for taking the time to come on. Just Jack here, mate. How do you feel? What you want to go with the midfield? How do you feel we go with Tom Mitchell and Ned Long? Do they play in the same side? Is there only room for one of them? Are both of their spots in jeopardy if we're trying to rush a bloke like Jordan to go back in there?
I think it's horses for courses. I think it's going to be determined on who we play. Particularly in the finals. I think both of them can be in the same side. The thing that will make it tricky will be when Geordie comes back and Bo, those 2, I don't think he can fit all 4 in there. But, yeah, I think he can have both in there. It'll be horses for courses as to who plays. I think out of Ned and Tom, I think Tom's the most vulnerable just because of the pace.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, that's my view on it.
Yeah, no, and there's been a lot of perspectives about this particular issue, so it's very fascinating to see what the coaching staff will do. Another question for you before we let you go. We've been speaking about the impact of the likes of Tim Membry and Harry Perryman, who have been some of our standout recruits. Of the 3 that we've brought in already this year, if you had to rank them 1 to 3 about who's been the most influential out of Dan Houston, Harry Perryman and Tim Membry in terms of what they've brought to the table, where would you lean towards?
Tim Membry would be number 1.
Yep.
Because he's actually doing his job and he's kicking goals. I reckon he's been solid, and I think he's really helped guys like Mychek and McStay.
Yep.
I think that Perryman would probably be 2, only because I think he gets a little bit more of the ball. I think Dan Houston is going to surprise us all in the finals. I think he's going to explode in the finals. So he's at 3, but watch his space.
Yeah, pretty good 3, I think, regardless. But you're right. I think Dan Houston's slowly be building into things, and hopefully for your sake, we're right. He's got a big final series to come. Before we do let you go, mate, it's been great having you on the podcast. What are your confidence levels like about us getting back to the top in 25? Do you think we can get it done?
I think we can. I think it has a bit of a smell of 2023 about it. But the next 4 weeks, obviously, or the next 3 weeks are challenging. We have to win at least 2 of the next 3 to make sure we finish in the top 2. If we do that, I'm sure we can win the flag.
Yeah, I've got the same thinking as you. I think 2 of the next 3 will certainly secure definitely top 2, and I think if we finish top 2, then we're going a long way. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to chat, and hopefully we see you
no worries
for
at
a few
all.
wins.
Thanks
all
a
right,
lot.
cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was Donnie joining us as part of the Guess the Crowd. That could be you if you guess the crowd closest. So keep an eye out for the posts each game day. Give it your best crack if you are closest to the pin. That will be you joining us as part of our Guess the Crowd competition. Also, haven't forgotten about Lionel last week. I've let him know that he's on standby. We'll get him on at some point very soon. It'll be great to chat to him after winning it last week. Some raging questions from you there, Marcus. Really appreciated your input on that one this week.
Yeah, I was just curious on his name.
Yeah, I missed that at the start. Well, he said his name was Donnie.
So we had Don down.
That's my question.
Well, I'm only reading what Luke told me, and it said Donnie on the message.
Try to get some confirmation, but I feel like he introduced himself as someone else.
Yeah.
You've got Donnie for Guess the Crowd. That's what it's written here.
I feel like potentially he tried to interject.
Have you thrown me under the bus?
Just ran with it. No, he's so on Twitter. He's Donnie. So I assumed it was
I thought his name was Mate.
Is it Donald? Well, because we all got curious afterwards.
I'm sure he introduced himself as something else, but we kind of didn't quite get there. So
I'm on the same couch as Luke.
All right. Well,
literally.
If we were meant, listen. If we were meant to call someone else and he just gone with
well played, sir. If that's
he was
the
just
case.
like, and then he just went, okay, I'm just going to ride with
I
this.
thought, I'm going to keep going.
That is exactly what I thought happened. That was fantastic.
All right, very good.
Not getting involved here.
He's actually answered someone else's phone and gone, I'll just go with this. And see how we go.
That's very
Doesn't
good.
go for Collingwood.
Look,
If he's pulled that off, that's
if he's pulled that off, that is brilliant shit.
Just
talking.
quickly got ChatGPT up. And
All right, we're going to move on along. We've got a couple more things to finish up. We've got to touch on the VFL because it was a big event down at Frankston as the Pies took on the Dolphins, and while we weren't able to get the job done, a lot of the attention was certainly on some of the big AFL named inclusions, of course, to Goey, Bobby, Billy Frampton. We had Finn McRae come back from injury as well. Mason Cox returned to the VFL side. So it was all pretty exciting, Marcus.
We had Tom Spagwan.
Tom McGuan, yes.
Kicked his first goal with his first kick, I think. His father, still the coach down at Keilor, Mickey McGuan, who's been on the show some seasons ago now. It was all happening, Nico, and there was a lockout down at Kinetic Stadium, Jack. They could not let any more people in. It just shows you how incredible it is being a Collingwood supporter. We go anywhere and everywhere, and with
destination ground down there at Frankston. Marcus,
Kinetic
Bay.
Yeah.
Very good.
So what happened?
So we got done badly as well. It was an awful game to watch from about the second quarter onwards. Serge will fill us in a bit more, but I reckon Mason Cox probably had not copped as much lip as this game, quite frankly, because there was a bit of this going on over the fence as we like with the VFL.
Yeah, I did have a few mates that went down there, Nico, and they said, I dare say those AFL boys probably don't cop it as hard as what they did that night. But also to the point, found out just before walking in here today, a member of the Collingwood's marketing team was playing for Frankston on Jordan De Goey and racked up a stunning 43 disposals, if you don't mind, playing on Jordan De Goey. True story. If it's not, blame SEN. But yeah, that was the story coming out of Saturday night's game. Was his name escapes me, but yeah, the guy playing on Jordan De Goey for the most part, 43 touches, and he's selling memberships. Nico, get him on the list.
Tom Blamirez, by the looks of it.
And he caught Geordie cold a few times as well, so
44 touches, 6 tackles, 3 marks.
Only been in stunning form leading into this game.
Not too bad at all.
So to touch on your lockout point, they actually got escorted off the ground straight away as soon as the game ended up. Were you there?
No, it was on free to air. So
I just seen that today on social media that they kind of as soon as the game ended, they were taken off very quickly, and obviously understandable, but a lot of fans who were hoping to get a glimpse or get close to them, unfortunately couldn't.
All right, well, the Surge has chimed in. I believe he may have been one in attendance as well, potentially. So, well done to the Surge. They took on the 7th place Dolphins at the Pies in another night game at Kinetic Stadium, wet and slippery conditions. All interest on the Pies' inclusion, as we mentioned, as well as Tommy McGuan. Collingwood started well, dominating hit-outs and centre clearances via Steen, Cox, McRae and Gray. Pies forwards were busy but missed multiple opportunities before Hill and AJ kicked all 3 of our goals of the opening term. Collingwood's defence, led by DeBolfo, Sievers and Parker, was solid in rebounding Frankston's attacks to help us lead by 16 points at quarter time. In the second term, the Dolphins improved their pressure and started winning clearances and territory. Collingwood's defence looked disjointed, making simple errors that turned the ball over, even with Frampton inserted into the game in the second term. The Pies were pinned in their defensive half for most of the term, whilst Frankston managed to kick 6 goals 3 to see us down by 15 points at half time. In the third term, Frankston continued their pressure and were much cleaner at the contest than Collingwood. The Pies, unable to handle the pressure, continued turning the ball over. In the forward half, the Dolphins' defence outmarked and outworked Collingwood's big forwards every time. The Dolphins added another 5 goals 5 to Collingwood's solitary goal, courtesy of Tom McGuan, down by 44 at three-quarter time. Glover was moved to the forward line to start the final term and he kicked the goal and had another 2 goal assists. The Pies managed to kick 5 goals 3 and win the term, however, despite a better effort. Still too many missed tackles at critical times. Collingwood were unable to threaten the Dolphins, who continued to control the corridor, and we went on to lose by 36 points. In summary, the Pies fell away after quarter time, unable to handle the conditions, lost connection in defence, poor disposal and skill errors impacted their ability to score. The opposition were more aggressive and played a better wet weather football game on to the next week.
Yeah, that really does sum it up beautifully, Nick. I thought that there was a little bit of that DeGoey, Hill, Cox, like the AFL players really looked like they were just trying to dust off the cobwebs, and whether that's the best for a team-based approach, I'm not too sure. But of the players that we know will come back into the mix in the coming weeks, I think Bobby Hill's the obvious standout with his 3 goals. He did go out of the game for some period of time, which we're used to seeing at the senior level, but I think Frampton absolutely needs at least another week, not rushing him back if Howie is available this week. And yeah, Geordie definitely needs another hit out or 2 just to develop a bit more of that match fitness. So we play the Seagulls, DSV Stadium, which is Williamstown's home ground, I believe, on Saturday night, and the VFL Pies currently sitting in 7th position, so on track for finals. Huge game for finals implications too, because Williamstown have lost 3 straight and they're in 10th because they're trying to get into the wild card, so big game for them. The VFLW girls, they had the bye over the weekend and they've got one more game in the regular season. They also take on the Seagulls 10:05am at DSV Stadium. Pies are second on the ladder, so we can't miss finals. The worst we can finish by the looks of it, barring a ridiculous percentage decrease, is 5th, but looks like we're going to have top 2 pretty much secured. So a good result all around. The AFLW also kicking off very soon as well for Collingwood, so we'll keep an eye out for that.
New skipper.
Yes, Ruby Schleicher.
So
fantastic.
shout out to her.
Absolutely.
Definitely deserved.
Last bit of news that's just come in before we finish up this episode of the pod. Spoke off air about Brodie Mychek and how he may have been cited for pushing Nick Vlosten into a contest. We've seen that suspended before in the AFL. I think it was Mansell that was suspended previously for the same action. I can tell you he's been fined $1,500 with an early plea. He can get that downgraded. And that is the end of that. Will not be suspended.
Contested.
Yeah, Mansell should have to pay the fine.
But people calling for suspension,
it's just Collingwood, mate.
I assume it's opposition supporters, but
it wasn't even a free kick.
Yeah.
Careless and low impact.
Like I said, they just had to fall over and they're getting
careless and low impact.
So.
Stephen May's also had his appeal rejected, so he will still serve out his suspension as well.
Got to say that is stiff. I feel like that is punishing the outcome, not the action, which unfortunately is probably the way the Tribunal is trending in our current game. The way that the modern day environment with concussions and the like. So yeah, I feel like Stephen May could consider himself pretty stiff. Bit of Melbourne love for probably the first time in the Pies Nation history, I would say.
I'd say so.
Good game yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, the Saints TV boys are chomping at the bit to get get into the studio here because they've got to spend the whole hour on Naz, surely. Nazai Wanganeen-Malira, superb, just unbelievable.
Yeah, we've kept the seats warm for them, but just a reminder, we're still on top, Jacko.
Still on top.
Pod.
And if you're ever worried about where footy's going and, your love for the game, having a win like that will do wonders for any supporter base. So stick fat if your team's struggling a little, Essendon. You never know when the
title turn. It's starting. All right, Breezy, Saturday night, massive game. Very much excited for it. We'll have a preview for you later this week. Going?
We'll be there.
Going in my retro Guernsey. Nico, so excited about that. Great strip.
As we've spoken about on the pod and SpeakPie, the season, let's get going. Yes. Let's get cracking. Well, as supporters, let's get there and fill out the
noisy.
Black and white.
Get it done.
The Collingwood chant up and about. I wasn't at the Freo game, but a few comments I read was that the crowd wasn't as good as it's been over the past couple of years. Just, the atmosphere and that. It was kind of a letdown. And obviously the Richmond game wasn't one we could really take a lot out of, but I want to see Collingwood crowds back to its best, the energy like it was in 23 and 22 when we were riding Sky.
Well, no GA available, so it is going to be fully ticketed, which is a good sign ahead as well. All right, that's going to do it for this week's episode of the Pies Nation podcast. Nicholas Sacco here with you. Thank you, Marcus Callahan. Thank you, Jack Dugan. Thank you, Luke Humphries. Until next week, you've been listening to or watching the Pies Nation podcast, where the pies are hot and the drinks are cold. Our show wouldn't be possible in 2025 without the ongoing support of the North Texas Devils. They're led by a great Collingwood man in Peter Wood. And just like the Pies have been here, the North Texas Devils have been thriving over in the US, just coming off a Central Regional Championship. And now they're looking to go all the way in the Nationals in Arizona later this year. The Devils are still looking to recruit new and established players for the season, so if any of our listeners or viewers are heading to the States over the next couple of months, are keen to get their Aussie rules fixed, the North Texas Devils are the team for you. Contact details can be found in our description no matter how you consume our podcast, or you can head to ntxdevils.com to learn more. So thanks again to the Devils for sponsoring the Pies Nation podcast in 2025.